Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having me in. It's an honour to be able to speak in front of a lot of colleagues and friends who've been with us along the way. I want to start by drawing your attention to an article that was published in The Guardian not that long ago. I'm pretty sure you've all had a chance to read it and to see it, where Neil Basu, one of the highest-ranking counter-terror police in the UK, and I'm quoting from the article, said that far-right terrorism is the fastest-growing terrorist threat in the UK. Over the past year, a quarter of all terrorist arrests in the UK were linked to far-right terrorism. I mean, we don't even have to look far back. Only 2 years ago in Finsbury Park, we witnessed an atrocious attack where a member of the far right drove his van into innocent worshippers leaving the mosque. I remember I stayed up the whole night watching the events unfold, and the next morning I was on a train straight away to Finsbury Park to see what I could do to help the community and the mosque there. We remember the Christchurch terror attacks that happened towards the end of March, where tens of people were killed and many more injured. The terrorist had the audacity to even stream his murder spree on social media and release a hate-filled manifesto. Looking back, last week or a couple of weeks ago, we had another terrorist attack in Germany, this time targeting the Jewish community in a synagogue. Time and time again, we see the far right being emboldened, being much more arrogant and much more, for lack of a better word, confident to carry out their crimes. They've been emboldened by politicians using toxic language. Politicians such as Trump, who urges his supporters to chant, send them home to poor migrants who are looking for a better life in America. Trump, who has presided over the so-called Muslim ban to prevent people from Muslim-majority countries from entering the US. To the likes of our very own politicians, our very own Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, who not so long ago was describing Muslim women as letterboxes, who not so long ago was using toxic language in Parliament in relation to Brexit. The far right has been emboldened by these politicians. And with the rise in far right, we have seen a rise in Islamophobia. We have seen a rise in Islamophobia that has manifested itself in the crimes and in the murders that I've just mentioned to you. So I call on every single one of you here in the audience to write to your politicians, to write to those in power, urging them to take a stand against the far right, urging them to speak up against hate, against bigotry. Our colleagues at the MCB have done a fantastic job of aiding the APPG on British Muslim on dividing Islamophobia. And the first step that we must do to challenge the rise in Islamophobia is to get as many government institutions, to get as many local authorities to adopt this definition. Furthermore, we must get an urgent investigation into Islamophobia in the Tory party. And we must adopt We must get this definition adopted as soon as possible. And finally, and I don't want to steal the thunder of the organisers here, if you have a look at the back of your posters, there will be a march on the 21st of March next year. So I urge you all to attend, stand side by side with your colleagues, and hopefully together we can bring the far right down and bring back peace and tolerance to our communities. Thank you very much.